Houlihan from Fáilte Ireland. And basically, Mary, if you just want to talk about it from a tourism point of view and your perspective on that idea.
Okay, thanks. Very good afternoon, everybody. I have to say, I think the idea of bringing the Waterford Greenway right into Waterford City would have significant economic impact on businesses in the city. If you look at the Waterford Greenway at the moment, it's currently attracting approximately 260,000 visitors annually and growing. And extending the cycle path would bring a large proportion of these visitors right into the heart of the city, and benefiting not only tourism businesses in the city, but also in the hinterland, because you're going to increase footfall right across the city. And I suppose if we take a look at the impact of greenways in other centres, and we look at places like Westport and indeed Dungarvan, we can see that the Greenway has been the catalyst projects that's enabling these towns to become vibrant urban tourism centres that are sustaining not only existing businesses, but also stimulating new economic opportunities within their local communities. And coming a bit closer to Waterford City, isn't it great to see how a village like Kilmacthomas is thriving as a direct result of the Greenway? And I happened to be speaking to Stephen Lynch of the Coach House Coffee recently, and he was telling me how he set up a 26-seated restaurant in 2017 and how successful this has been. And it's actually grown to become a 150-seated restaurant within a 3-year period, which is absolutely fantastic. And if we look to the northwest and we look at Mayo, the Mayo Greenway is worth 10 million euros approximately annually to the local economy, and 7.2 million of that expenditure is coming from domestic visitors, with 2.8 million coming from overseas. And I suppose the reason that I'm calling out the domestic visitor is because that's going to be so important to Waterford in the short-term recovery in tourism. And if we look at Fáilte Ireland data in terms of what a visitor is worth to a centre, the domestic visitor, if you get the overnight for them, they're going to spend 74 euros per day, and the international visitor is worth 96 euros per day. So if for every 1 million euros that's spent in generated as a result of tourism, that's supporting 27 jobs locally. So tourism is really, really important part of an economic mix of any destination. It's also, I suppose, worth noting that looking at the medium to longer term growth, that there has been a significant increase in cycling tourism. And in 2018, for example, over 450,000 overseas visitors participated in a cycling activity while on holiday in Ireland. But I suppose coming back to the short-term opportunity, COVID has really increased the appeal of outdoor pursuits, particularly amongst our domestic market, and all the indications are that that is going to continue into the future. So if we look at bringing the Greenway into Waterford City, it really presents a great opportunity for Waterford to take advantage of this interest that is in the domestic market, and by creating Waterford City as a destination that actually offers outdoor activities. And I suppose the ways that Waterford can take advantage of this is, first of all, it can position itself as the starting or the finishing point of the Waterford Greenway, and thus giving it a great opportunity to drive the overnight. But most importantly, I think businesses can actually leverage the popularity of the Greenway and look at creating short stay holiday packages, influencing and motivating visitors to locate themselves in Waterford City and take full advantage of the fabulous range of experiences that are currently on offer in Waterford City. Take a trip out to Mount Congreve. You can access that from the Greenway, but also to explore the wider county and really use the Greenway as the leverage to actually attract the domestic audience initially, but with that medium to longer term, looking at the international audience and winning it back.
Thanks, Mary.
So, definitely a great idea.
It looks like it from what you're saying. We might just move over quickly to Ronan Mulligan there from Mulligans Pharmacies. Just from a retail perspective, what do you make of this idea, Ronan?
I think it's the local economy needs to be, we need to fine tune what we have before we start looking outwards and say, how can we attract in these new visitors? I think lockdown has kind of created an immediate love affair with our own environment. We've kind of turned our kitchens into kind of workplaces. We've turned our front rooms into workplaces. We've grown, this word hyper-localism has really been bandied about, but it's true. And, this affinity that we have in our local area, we need to leverage, literally as quickly as we can. It's the Greenway is just one element of it. I think retail is changing so rapidly. I mean, the elements that used to underpin our community, like the big department stores, are probably gone. You can see in Britain, they're shutting all over the place. But what's happening is the stores, say like John Lewis, they're been asked to go in. There's a demand in smaller towns, but they're coming back in small store formats, and they can showcase a lot of what they do through digital. So you shouldn't write them off, but we need, as a community, we need to connect in, is to build on this kind of lockdown and this commitment to Waterford and find there's a hybrid worker there that is going to make a choice to live in a city like Waterford, but we need to ask them what they want. Their preferences have changed. They're coming from larger metropolitan areas. And the old adage in a community, data or location is not really correct. It's data. What do they want? What are their preferences? We've built towns based on you work in one place, you live in another, you shop out of town, and you go to big cultural events somewhere else. We've got to create and develop on a concept that's really a 15-minute city that you can traverse and put the human at the heart of it again. I know it's very theoretical, but it's true. You put the human at the heart of it again, not just places, not just shops. The shops are going to change to be experiences. The concept of just picking something up off a shelf is gone. You go into a store for experience. Half your store, you should be able to change it within 2 weeks and create more space for emerging brands. The bigger stores are overspaced. The department stores, the Tesco's of this world, they're going to be offering space to local entrepreneurs to showcase their talents, to show what they can do through the digital world. You can take a small space and your whole brand can be on show. And I think you'll find there will be a kind of a great balance between, the out of town community space or retail spaces will still work. They're convenient. They have lots of parking, but they can showcase our talents in the city centre. So for the new, like if you're to specifically say about the, we need to connect all routes, cycle routes into the city centre to avail of the Greenway. We need to have good CCTV so we can go back so we're happy with our kids to cycle on these routes freely, like we did 30 years ago. So we bring people back into the city, and there's a sustainability pledge about that. If retail doesn't have, a sustainability pledge, it shouldn't be just to certain parts of the community. It should be to all. We need to be part of that. So we're entertaining people in the city centre. They can come in, they can cycle in, and our stores are going to change to reflect their changing patterns,
Okay. Thanks, Ronan. And we have we have the concept of Waterford becoming a carbon neutral city. It kind of fits in with that area. But the whole idea of bringing all these folk who are coming from various places right through the city to get to where Waterford began, that whole Viking area, and then back out. And there are probably huge opportunities that we haven't even got to from that very fact of doing that. Do you think, Ronan?
Yeah, look, like a fashion store, for instance, could be a cafe in the morning, a fashion store in the afternoon, and provide cultural events in the evening. We have to reimagine the experience that people want. What's gone on under the radar for many is Amazon opened a hairdresser salon in London 2 weeks ago. Why did they do that? It's amazing. But they're actually using tech. They're a tech company, just happen to be in retail, but they know tens of thousands of products every day that are sold for hair use. So when you're going to get your hair done, you're presented with an augmented reality version of what you are. They're selling you products that they want to sell you. So we need, I suppose, we need to know where can we get that data. We need support in the community, you know, as to what shops do people want. I mean, city centres will want shops that you can't get on the internet, you know, hairdressers, bakers, salons. You know, you can't buy that kind of experience. So but we need support from the various government bodies. I think, you know, City Council will have to get involved in reimagining these spaces, set up a company that buys these spaces, that allows the artisan and allows the entrepreneur to showcase their ideas, you know, and maybe provide them at kind of a low cost. You know,
bar style.
The leasehold model is just changing. It has to change, you know.
Okay. We have a couple of questions, Fiona or Linda has a couple of questions. There's so many people here.
That's all right, Carol. I've been called way worse than my time, I can assure you. Mary, this is for you. Just on how can Waterford Greenway retain its USP as more and more greenways and trails come on stream across the country? This is something I suppose we've actually kind of had a conversation about here. And when we look at the start of the Greenway, you know, we're kind of using the tag frame where Waterford began, the Greenway begins. So it's Ireland's oldest city, you know, Ireland started here, now the Greenway is going to start here. Do we need to come up with a new marketing tool to, you know, is this going to retain this USP?
So I think the Waterford Greenway has certainly earned its place and is really popular with Irish tourists and will become popular with international tourists. But when you're talking about motivating a visitor to come to a destination, it's all about the experience that's on offer. And visitors there's so much on offer them, and they have so much choice. It's really important that Waterford tells the Greenway story, the Waterford Greenway story, and creates experiences that makes it differentiated within Irish greenways. So there's great opportunity. Also, I think it's all about scale as well. So if you look at the Waterford Greenway, there's a great opportunity now with the potential to extend it into New Ross and further. And if you're looking at attracting the international visitor, it's all about the scale of the experience, but equally then it's all about the quality of the experience that you offer.
Okay, fantastic.